I want to talk about Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe, which is a new Paramount Plus film that has just recently come out. Now, before we jump into, good old Beavis and Butthead and their latest adventure, I mean, they've been around for, at this point, nearly 30 years, I guess, since the 90s at this point, during the MTV generation, one of the defining aspects of the MTV generation.
They started with liquid television.
They did.
Really?
Which was the Adult Swim of its day.
Oh, okay,
That,
wow.
Like, the head was thing, too, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Eon Flux.
Yeah, all that. So, yeah, and they've been holding over. They're still lasting. But, before we get into their latest adventure and, what their impact is on, the 2020s, such as they are, what do Beavis and Butt-Head have to say about this year, 2022? I'm sure a lot. She'll bring in a lot of good sentiments and positions. But I kind of want to give everyone's opinions on Beavis and Butt-Head before we get into the series itself, just, their impact on culture and things.
It's an interesting thing, because when it first was premiering, and it was on liquid television, and the shorts were funny, and then they had their own series, and this was when we were switching to the age of ugly animation.
Yes, Ren and Stimpy.
Where, it wasn't about how good can I make this look. It was like, you can look grody and barely animate.
Yeah.
So I initially just kind of blew it off. And it was a friend of mine. She was like, I love that show. I watch it every day. I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, because they act like real teenagers. And I was like, huh. And I went back and rewatched it. And then I was instantly like, oh shit, yeah, okay, I'm with this show. And initially with the series, for the 30 minutes it would be on, I guess, 22 with commercials.
Yeah.
There'd be, maybe 6 to 8 minutes of them doing something, and then the middle was just them watching videos on MTV and commenting on it. And then the next was either the rest of that adventure or something new. But it was a formula that worked.
The animation is it was so jarring to watch, especially as a kid who grew up with Warner Brothers and Disney, and seeing where it's much more, I think if this was, the way I've always described Warner Brothers is if that was jazz and Disney was classical music, this is grunge.
Okay. Oh, wow, that's perfect.
Yeah, and it was raw, it was gritty, and it had this is not them learning a moral lesson, this is these kids either trying to get laid or get nachos.
I just found them so detestable that I'm just like, all right, fuck these kids. I know that was the point. That was the point.
There is a certain zen to the show.
I thought there was just better stuff out there, but despite what I think, they're back again in their latest movie for Paramount Plus. So before we go ahead and start discussing it, let's look at how their adventure is shaping up to be. One thing I will say at the top is that for those of you who are concerned, that's a lot going on in that trailer. I mean, they're going across the multiverse now. They're in space.
That's what everybody's doing.
Oh, I know. I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. But
2022 will be all about the multiverse year.
Yeah. It's but listen, I'll tell you what now. Right now, the first 22 minutes of this, weirdly, it's another Beavis and Butt-Head episode. So for those of you who are like, I don't know about all that crazy stuff, don't worry. It opens up exactly how you would expect.
We're trying to find out how many times I can kick Beavis in the nads before he passes out.
And that's the same shit you've been doing? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's worked out for us. I don't know. When this opened up, not that there wasn't some funny moments within those first 22 minutes, but I thought, okay, it's just I get what you're doing. You're paying homage, you're paying respect to the original series right now, and you're trying to ease people into the movie itself. But again, it's just humor that just doesn't appeal to me. It's just like, let's just open up with them kick each other in the balls.
That's fair. That's completely fair.
Yeah.
I think with this movie, because it's hard to know, because I was somebody who knew them from back in the day when they first started with the very first short, Frog Baseball. If you don't already have an affinity for Beavis and Butthead, how will this movie play to you?
Good point.
Because coming into this, it is, because I watched it with my wife, because she remembers watching Beavis and Butthead back in the day, and she doesn't have the patience for everything, but she actually sat down and watched it, and it was like visiting old friends.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, these jackasses.
Sure.
So it was kind of fun to watch them go through paces, but if you didn't have that sense of nostalgia of going back to something, I wondered. I was like, how would this play?
Yeah.
And especially, it starts with 1998. I think that's the year when it starts before they go through the
Yes,
wormhole.
yep.
And come into 2024 or 2022. Yeah, that's right. They said it was 24 years. It's one where I was like, I don't know how much. If you don't already love these guys, I don't know how much you would want to stick around for this.
That's the thing. So yeah, it's weird for me. Like I don't know if I could recommend this movie to new people who are just not familiar with the content, who are not already fans to begin with. But by the time we get to them going through that wormhole after a bit of confusion, we get to those scenes where I thought, okay, this is gonna be interesting, because now they're going to be tackling things that we often see in our own society. I think that would be cool. And so like the idea of white privilege is like, oh, that would be a fun sequence.
I thought that was hilarious.
See, that's something that I didn't find very funny. It didn't work for me. But hey, let's play this clip, and I want to get out everyone else's opinion on this.
Step aside, please. We have white privilege. Please. It's okay. You didn't know. We didn't either. Good stuff now. This is what we were taught, sir.
You see, I just feel like it's the same joke. It's just now it's just taking place in 2022, and that sounds interesting. But how it plays out for me, at least, I was like, it didn't do anything for me.
So as I looked at it, I was like, this is a funny idea. It's a funny gag, and I go like, oh, what's going to be the repercussions for it? Mm-hmm. And there are none.
Yep. Good point.
Which, on one level, would be funny, but then I thought, wait, on a whole other level, it is funny that they have this white privilege where they do all this shit.
And they get away with it.
And they totally get away with it. I was like, oh, yeah, there it is right there.
There's another thing that you brought up in the beginning, like everything's multiverse right now.
Yes.
Everything across the board. And
Yes.
like I was excited with multiverse. I still am. But I'm like, Jesus, everyone's leaning into this at this point. We're gonna have our own multiverses.
Well, you should be me, where I was never excited about the multiverse.
I know. Yeah, you thought
I
you
was
were
like, this is just opening up a big world of cheating.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you if this movie if it reminded you of another particular film that I think a lot of people forgot about, but it kind of had the same sensibilities, and I feel like it's doing a lot of the same thing.
Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughter.
Bill and Ted's Comeback, or whatever the hell it was called. There's so much watching this movie just reminded me of this third Bill and Ted film. It's like, hey, we're bringing back these guys who are still very much they feel like they're still in the 80s. I know that Beavis and Butt-Head is in the 90s, of course, but just it was the same. They're doing the same stuff just in now a new time period, and it just felt kind of boring and trite, and it just didn't hit for me. Did you feel the same way, or did you like
you
this?
have to understand that you look at the evolution of it. There was Bill and Ted,
Yeah.
the two dumbass teenagers.
Yes.
One brunette, one blonde.
Yeah.
Then Beavis and Butt-Head.
Yep,
Then Wayne and Garth from
Oh,
Wayne's
yeah, that's
World.
true. That's a
So
good
there was a
one.
whole trend
A lot
that was
of them.
going on. So that the idea they would remind you of that doesn't surprise me at all.
The whole thing, I take it and leave it, but there were moments where I was laughing. Martin, you clearly like it more than I do, but there's anything else you wanted to highlight in the film that you thought did right?
Well, there's like I said, with the animation, I think they did some good things. Sorry.
No, you're good.
A car chase that I really enjoyed. And I can't say that I didn't predict where it was going,
Sure.
which often it's way easy to do. And it feels like a movie that's easy to predict, but I was like, oh no, I actually didn't catch this. And I am not big on nostalgia, but it was fun to see these guys.
I feel like if you're a fan of Beavis and Butt-Head, you're gonna love this. This is more of it. It's them commenting in their own Beavis and Butt-Head way on things that we're all going through right now, politically and socially. And I think that's really fun. People are gonna dig that. But if you're more like me, if you just don't like their comedic sensibilities, I think you're gonna left feeling wanting. So, I mean, if I were to give this like a rating, I don't know. I think it's perfect where it is. I don't think this is awful. I think this, again, comedy's subjective. I'll give this a rental. I think it's perfectly fine on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
What about you?
I agree with you. I don't think it needs a theatrical release. Paramount Plus is a great place for it. I'm a fan of Beavis and Butt-Head, but I didn't love it, but I did like it and I did enjoy it, and I never had that feeling of like, I could be doing something else. I was like, let's see this to the end. But yeah, Paramount Plus is a great place for it. So that puts me at giving it a high rental.
Okay.
Because I did like it more than you.
Yeah.
But not to the point where, I mean, it's not going to be in a theater, so it's really a moot point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a high rental.